Day of the month of October in 2024, and we're right here on the big station. We can see our man Lambi right there on the switchboard. He is a good friend. He's a personal friend of my dad. He's a man who just is committed and happy to be able to be part of our show. Mikhail Henderson, the Princess of Song, she's gonna join us. It could be a little while, maybe about 9:15 or so. Can you believe it? From what I know, I think it's okay to say that she was in our neck of the woods in Chicago. I think she flew in this morning. A superstar. She's at rehearsal now, and immediately after rehearsal, Lambi, she's gonna come into the studio with you, and she's gonna spend the time. So when the Princess of Song shows up, we will just make a show for her. Provost Carr said if we are cool enough, he might hang out with us. So let's just make sure that we are cool enough for that. And we want to thank those of you who are listening to us on the big station. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, you can view us live on Facebook by going to Facebook for the Q95, Wise Q95 FM. Well, one of the things that we do is that we play a piece of the live music. Sorry, Provost Carr, you're not going to escape the accordion. You're going to... You probably say, finally, I'm going to be able to be around Peter without the accordion. I'm sorry.
No, I love the accordion. You would apologize if you'd make me pick one up and play it. So this is good. No need to apologize.
Yeah, and I don't know if you ever saw, Provost Carr, if you ever saw this one. I don't know if you ever saw this. Have you ever seen me play this one?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Yeah. So this accordion was given to me by a white German man the accordion was actually made in Germany, and he had bought the accordion 52 years ago.
Wow.
And I was somewhere in Pillows Heights or so playing my other accordion, and he said, you know what? I think that accordion at home, I want him to have it. So this man, who is a complete stranger,
wow,
gave me his home address and his telephone number, he and his wife, and I drove to his house, and he gifted me with this beautiful accordion. So I'm going to play the song that is kind of our theme song here in Peaceology. You know, you've heard the song a few times. It is Know the Story of Our Peace. You know that Peaceology is the science and practice of low stress and high joy. And right between the walls of North Park University, right there at Magnuson Center, is the Urban Peace Lab, where a major part of the work of Peaceology is going on. And people who are listening around the world know about Peaceology, but that's kind of where the Urban Peace Lab is kind of the engine where that happens. And in that lab, I composed that song, Know the Story of Our Peace, because part of in Peaceology, you know, we know that a lot in our world, we know a lot about violence. We know a lot about how we fail, but sometimes we know very little about how we succeed. In the city of Chicago, where we live, we know so much about violence, but we do not know enough about peace. Mm-hmm. So this song is called Know the Story of Our Peace. It could be Know the Story of My Peace, Know the Story of Your Peace, Know the Story of Her Peace. The whole idea is that we need to know the story of peace, because energy follows attention. And if you put your attention on peace, energy will go towards peace. And I say in various shows that one of the great things about human beings is that we have memory. It can let us think about things in the past. One of the great things about human beings is that we have imagination. It can allow us to think about things in the future. But the problem with memory is that if it is bad, we can go back and re-traumatize ourselves from the hurts that we had before. The problem with imagination, while it is good that we can enjoy it and we can see ahead, that we can get anxiety if we worry about the things that have yet to happen. So what do? In therapy, we refer to it as existentialism. We need to bring ourselves to the moment. So I want you to bring yourself to the moment when you listen to this piece of music. If you're looking at us, well, I guess I'm not live on Facebook because I don't have Facebook. They kicked me out some time ago, but that's a long story. We'll talk about that. I didn't do anything wrong. No. I'm not in Facebook. I'm not in Facebook jail because I got cuffs on my head. I didn't do anything. I honestly don't know. But guess what? We're coming up with our own social media platform. We'll be talking about that in the next couple of months. But for those of you who are watching live on Facebook, you can see you may be able to see something. And we are right here in StreamYard. So here we go. know the story of our piece, after we play that song, we're going to ask Provost Carl a little bit of questions. Then we're going to take a little musical break, listen to a song from Mikhail, and then we're going to say some shout out and thank you for some of our sponsors here tonight. So listen to know the story of our piece. The Provost Carr, we are in the business of education. I have committed myself to deliberately be illiterate in music for 5 years. What does that mean? Every time I play the song, I play it differently.
Well, it's beautiful every time you play. I love hearing you play.
You know, Dr. Carr, recently I was in Hyde Park. And I have some friends there. You know, I graduated from University of Chicago, so I still have friends there.
Yes.
And one friend of mine, Rick, you know, we play music and drum over in Jackson Park. So he invited me to Hyde Park to play music with them, an impromptu jazz concert. There's a beautiful park that actually was just loose land. And neighbors in Hyde Park decided they were going to take over that lot, that vacant lot, before gentrification, and they were going to own it and create a park there. So there was a man who came there to play his trumpet. And he did for a while, and they became a community of people in that space.
That's great.
And I was reluctant. I didn't want to go. But Rick said, no, you need to come. So I went with my accordion, and there was this guy playing the bass. This brother playing the bass. He had a dashiki like mine. And I had never played the accordion to a bass, to one of the big basses. And there was this guy named Curtis Black. Now, if you Google Curtis Black, he's a big name. This guy is an excellent trumpetist. He plays at the Woodland Tap on Woodland Avenue and 55th Street here in Hyde Park. And these guys were in the lot. And I was like a kid in a candy store, got a little me with my little accordion. And these guys were awesome. So, you know, so I just thought that, you know, in fact, I invited him to North Park University. You know, I actually talked to Saru at the Center for Civic Engagement about the work that he's doing so we can connect together. And the music is such an important part. In Peaceology, when we talk about low stress and high joy, it is so important for us to use our God-given talents to not just respond to the things that are problematic, but to be able to enjoy the peace that our good Lord has allowed us to see and to respond to.
Well, Peter, you know, I've always appreciated, and I think it speaks into who I like having around me in terms of who I collaborate with, is your introduction into music, into different settings, has been great. I love it. I
Thank
think
you.
it sets a mood. It somebody described it to me what's that the arts bring a hum
Mm,
to an organization, and there's this
mm,
background hum that
mm.
the arts bring, where even though it's not happening day, but that energy that's introduced on a regular basis, it brings that. And I like that concept and that phrasing, that it lasts beyond the setting in which the music is being played. Once it keeps adding together and becomes a part of the
Mm.
culture. And so that's why I always appreciate you bringing it in, because you bring that hum to the
Thank you.
university, and it brings it to meetings, and it just sets this baseline that's not usually there. We usually jump right into business, but to
Yeah.
pause and bring that in, I think it's just really important. I know I always appreciate it.
Thank you. Actually, part of my hidden agenda is that I want the music professionals to give us more of themselves,
Yeah,
because
I agree. I would love it, honestly. I absolutely
yeah,
would love it. And to get the students outside for rehearsals, like, could we create a space where they could rehearse outside? Could you imagine having students walking around campus, and there's just our music students who are out rehearsing, just to bring that forward into the surface? I would love it. I think it'd be great.
in fact, Provost Scott, I don't think you know that. I don't think I told you about that. But one day I was playing my accordion outside of Johnson Center.
Mm,
And this young man from Belize is Belizean and Filipino. He has actually an accordion as well. And actually, that time he didn't have one, but he played on mine a bit. And there's this other young man from Pakistan who had never seen an accordion physically before, and he
mm.
started playing it. And then the following Thursday, I brought my drums and we sat on the SGA table outside of Magnuson Center. And I have the videos of just random students
Right.
from Sweden, from Norway, so
Yeah.
one from Ireland, the other one from the Czech Republic. I mean, there were like students who came out, and some of them never saw an accordion. And the interesting thing, I was next to, and I live in the south suburbs, and there was this run, this mini marathon, and this African American man that may have been in his 60s or so, he was they had a lot of people who ran, and he was the last 5 minutes, so he was one of the slowest ones. And I was playing the accordion to cheer them along. And this man came over to me and said, I have run my first marathon, and now I see a black man playing an accordion. I could die now. I mean, and I said, dude, you look like you look all right because you run a marathon. I couldn't run. But you should be careful when you could die now, because people actually die when they run these things.
He should take it. Now I know everything, right? Like, I can build and we can do anything, right? Like, that should have been his inspiration too.
I was thinking you should at least wait till you go home to say that. You're still running,
Exactly right. Cross the finish line first.
Yes, well, Provost Scott and Larry, we're gonna break into. There is this song before we get a little bit deeper. Mikel Henderson recorded a song at Papiot, one of our sponsors in Trafalgar. Papiot Rainforest Retreat. Dr. Carr, if you and your friends ever go to Dominica, it's in my village of Trafalgar. Cuthbert and Ann, the couple, were there. I've been married for 50-something years, wonderful couple. And Mikel, you will not, I don't think you'll be able to see it here, Provost Carr, but if you ever going through the list that I sent on that first video, she shot that video. My daughter knows the famous lady that's with Mikel, but I actually do not know who she is, but I'm embarrassed about that. But Lambi, I want you to play that song. It says, Mikel singing a song in Papia, Trafalgar, Dominica. There on YouTube. Put it through when we're ready to cue it up. And I wanted to play from the beginning because it has an interlude to it. It has a bit of a playfulness to it. The song is 6 minutes. We might cut it off, close to about 4 minutes. Although towards the end, I wish we had gone towards the end, because there's actually a peacock while they were playing. A peacock started to sing, and the woman turned an ad-lib and started to put the song of the singing peacock in the song. And at the end, that we may not get to hear, she says that she was so disappointed because the peacock only sang once. But it's such a beautiful piece, and the music tells a story. And like you say, the music and the art lives on beyond the space where the music and the art was created. So, Lambia, as soon as you have this thing queued up, you can let us know, and then we will go so that we can hear that song, which is the first one on the list, where it says a YouTube video where Michael Henderson is singing his song in Papillot. I forgot what she said the title is, but we will see. We will hear the title. So while the studio is queuing up the song, I guess they will give us a cue, an indication when the song is ready to go. Maybe there's a little bit of technical difficulties. Professor Scott, tell us a little bit while we get ready. What brought you? Tell the world a little bit about kind of who you are, what your kind of academic training is, and kind of why you decided to get into the field that you got into. Let's just start with that, and then we'll take a break and get back to the music.
I'd be happy to. Thanks so much. My background is in molecular biology, specifically in genetics.
Oh,
and when I was finishing up my PhD, I thought I was going into private industry research. That's where I thought I was going to go. And so I was going through some interview processes, wasn't quite clicking. I had a friend who invited me back to one of my previous colleges that I worked at, and he invited me to dinner, and he invited me to graduation and then dinner. And I sat in that graduation with fresh eyes, because you're kind of at a transition point in your career. I'm private industry research. I'm not really doing education. I'm not going in an education space. If I go to education, I'm not going back to private industry. It was really kind of a fork in the road. So I viewed that graduation a little bit with different eyes, knowing I was at this decision point. And I just saw that the students walk across the stage and what it meant to them and what it meant to their families, that I thought, I want to be a part of that. And that's where I want to be, as opposed to private industry research. That there's value in that, but I really wanted to be back to the point of working with people and what it meant to them and generations. And so since then, I really made a point of being a part of institutions with a strong mission of service, because I made a very deliberate choice to go into education. And so I always wanted to be a part of organizations that had a service orientation to them. And that's how I've kind of staggered my career and making that choice. And we can talk about more if you want, but it really has been just a series of jobs after that. But that's really kind of the origin of why did I start in education. Well,
for you to land at North Park, where the mission of the university is to prepare students for lives of significance and service, it sounds to me like you got your calling. Lambe, that thumbs up looks like you're ready for us. So we're going to listen to this song. We're going to listen to the interlude. And Dr. Carr, you'll give us your comments. I wish I told you the link so you could have seen the video, because it's so beautiful, but you'll get it from listening to it.
I will.
All right.
Islands in the Caribbean. I really believe that, and I've seen it with my own eyes. Thank you. This is Dominica. It's amazing. I literally can't believe it. We got off the plane and there was literally like rainforest right there. Boom. River right there. Anyway, to the song. I just really need you guys to know that this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
This is Mikkel.
Yes.
This is Mikkel. This is Kenrick. And Mikkel has written, this Mikkel, not this Mikkel, has written a beautiful song. Tell me, what is it about?
The song is called Putut Ma Vie, which in
what does that translate? Putut
for all of my life.
For all of my life.
That's what it translates into. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's the story of a young woman who falls in love, and she dedicates her life to her lover.
Is it you?
Well,
I know her husband. Oh,
I won't say.
That's
Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
So we should sing it.
Yes.
Oh, but first,
Yes.
tell us where we are so people can know where to go.
Right. So this is the village of Trafalgar. It's one of the most beautiful. Everywhere in Dominica is beautiful, but this is one of the most beautiful villages and most visited.
Very different to the Trafalgar in London.
Absolutely. Although it's its namesake, but it's a beautiful rainforest area. There's lots of waterfalls here. There's hot springs here. It's just like walking into a spa, nature's natural spa. And the property is called the Papillot.
Papillot.
So
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous.
Thank you.
Right, let's sing this gorgeous song to go with this
Thank you.
gorgeous place.
Sure.
All righty.
1, 2, 3.
Bani yok do bani yok do bani que son que l'âme se pone Islam me la chez pitamwa du se bare bani yo Love how the peacock joins in every time we sing this song. Every time to die music on the air. Cantoticciamo e camutenza, ma d'amore non so lei. Della dimwekle di soleil, oh, porque sono la namwe. Una viva po aye, scende quanto la donne aye. Stand quanto la we to share what I want to my feet. To love me, baby, to share my baby. I never to love me. What my should oh yeah, 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 yeah. What to love me, what that one.
Pour toute la vie, for all of life. You know, Provost Scott. Did you hear the peacock, Provost Scott? You hear?
I did. Yeah, it was great. It's great to incorporate nature in
you know,
music.
and the way she described our village as like walking into a spa is true, you know, because there is some humidity, but to me, the humidity is like healthy. You know what I mean? It's like your pores can open up. You know, we have the hot water springs, and you know, whether we're talking about by Tiqueglo Show, Henry George's place, or we're talking about Tia's place, or we're talking about Screws, or we're talking about the Escape. You know, we're talking about by Natty. You know, that's the area in the Roseau Valley in Trafalgar. Where she was one of the most visited areas on the island of Dominica. By the way, Dr. Carr, have you visited Dominica?
I have not. No, I have not been there.
You know what? I'll tell you, if you make it within the next year, you and let's see, 3 more people can stay for free for 4 days at Peaceology Acres.
Okay.
But I have to write the date down.
Right.
If you're 1 day late, it's not going to happen.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Yes. And as you all know, that this show is brought to you live here on Q95, the big station. It's the 7th day of October of the year 2024. I'm your host, Dr. Peter KB St. Jean. Your co-host is Patrice KB St. Jean, who actually is in a breast cancer, just took a break to go to a breast cancer walk. She said she might join us here on the bottom of the hour. So anytime now, Patrice should be showing back up in studio. We are live on Facebook. And for those of you in the United States or Canada or somewhere around, you can actually call. It is not toll free like a 1-800 number, but it's a number from Florida. So if you call the numbers, like you're making a local call, and that call is 305-432-9624. Again, 305-432 432-9624. That is because we are a live show. People can call in and ask questions. And anytime you guys call and want to ask questions, we'll entertain your questions. Anytime you call, Lambie will give us a thumbs up, and as soon as possible, we will jump on the calls. Also, if you're local in Dominica, you know the 767 is our area code. The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. Again, those numbers are 449-3095. That's a landline. 449-3097, 449-3096. And we also have a DG number, which is 616-4257, 616-4257. And again, the overseas line is 305 if you want to call in from the United States, Canada, or the like. Free of charge to you is 305-432-9624. And those of you who are watching us live on Facebook for Q95, leave a comment, because when Patrice comes in, she would love to read those comments to you, right? So thank you so much. Thank you for so much. So Dr. Carr, what are some of the things? I know the language is not necessarily your first one, but I think you got the gist. And can you believe that if you saw the video, you would see there is one guy playing a guitar and another guy playing a djembe drum and the two women singing. That's it.
Yeah, it's an amazing, the rich and depth of sound, and between the range of their voices coupled with the instruments, it is amazing how rich and the sound is with essentially four people.
Yes, and when you are in the business that you're in, where you say you want to help people live lives of significance, you want people to make an impact in the world. And when I stand, in fact, Dr. Carr, after the summer, I told the people, we actually had our show every Monday night, but I told the listeners that I was taking on a new position, and because I'm taking that new position, I had to have the show once a month instead of once every week. But since you are the one who introduced me to the new position, you can tell the world what's my new position, if that's okay.
Absolutely. So it's certainly my pleasure that Peter assumed the position of the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at North Park. And the College of Arts and Sciences is the largest college at the university. So it's made up of a number of different academic units. It's humanities, science, and school of music, art, and theater. All of those divisions and schools are in the College of Arts and Sciences. So I'm just grateful for his acceptance, and I'm grateful for his leadership to lead that academic unit and to lead that college going forward in the future.
Dr. Carr, I've told you that to your face, so I can say this to the world, man. I really enjoy working with you, man. You know why I enjoy working with you? Because you put up with me. You put up with me, man. I'm not an easy guy to get along with, man. I'm a nice guy, but I'm a tough guy sometimes. Like I sometimes make enemies because people don't like sometimes the way that I tell the truth. But sometimes they say, well, I like what you said. I didn't like the way you said it. So I've been working on trying to say things kind of in a better way, but it's really great to be able to work with you, and it's really good to be able to do the work that we do. And I think central to the College of Arts and Sciences, really central to the idea of training the whole body, of training people's mind, body, and soul. The humanities really help us to develop our imagination. A lot of people imagine the world that they are in because they see it, but they cannot imagine themselves outside of that world. If they are going through misery and suffering, they cannot imagine outside of that. When you take a class with Ron Dooley in English, or Nancy Anderson, or you take a class with one of the faculty members in our departments that teach communication arts or political science, and when you read the Odyssey, you read Homer, and Homer tells you, do not be in a hurry to get to Ithaca, because if there were no journey, there would be no Ithaca. Whatever you do in your life, do not be so much in a worry to get to the goal, because if there is not the journey, and depends on how you go through the journey, the goal is going to be based on how much you enjoy the journey. Because after you get to the goal, you'll be like, oh, that's all it was. Right. And guess what? If you didn't enjoy the journey, you wouldn't have gotten anything. So I'm glad that you support the styles that we bring and the College of Arts and Sciences to help people live full lives and to learn and to have, later on you'll be able to tell us a little bit about practical liberal arts and kind of the distinctives of if someone wants to come to North Park University as provost, what is the value added? So I'm going to ask you that, to tell us a little more about what a provost does and what is unique about that provost at North Park University. But before you do that, and while you're thinking about that, I want to thank some of our sponsors. First of all, I want to thank Rasmo. Rasmo, actually, Dr. Carr is a cousin of mine, first cousin of mine, who passed away earlier in this year. The music that you heard in the beginning of the show, that's his song. Rasmo and his family, his children, his 5 children, 4 children and 4 or 5 grandchildren, and maybe others and other loved ones and friends and family. Thank you for the opportunity for us to play Rasmu's music as our open song. We want to thank Papi Up Wilderness Retreat right there in Trafalgar for the great contribution that they have made so many decades to our community and for being such a strong sponsor of Peaceology. Also, Davison Timothy from Mount Prosper. He's a farmer. He has a truck driving service. He's into accommodation. This brother sells some nice coconut water right there at the market, and he gives you great customer service. He's a great guy. He's a very intelligent guy and a fellow Valley brother. Thanks, Dave, for what you and your Daniel, your brother, and others do. And you're right next door to someone we had in our last show, Marcel. Looked, right there from Grand Bay, and Chubby. We featured them the last time. The farmers bring such a very important contribution to our society, and we thank all the farmers and all the people, the frontline workers, the people who sell their little bakes and saltfish like Oma, and so on, that we just take a quick little break and get something in the morning. We thank all of you, Vado, Ivadne, they're in Fokani and others, that do this type of work. We really appreciate it. Ella Dupity and Company and Burton and Company, these are places that whenever I am here and our workers that are building our resort want some work, I say, go to Ella Dupity, ask for Shirley, ask for Ophelia, ask for Marilyn, ask for Mr. Burton himself and get some help. The security guard is always nice and courteous to us. And there's a Haitian immigrant that works in the back, and this man is always so nice. There's people come and just roll the red carpet and give us good service. So we really thank Ella Dupity. And I get the same thing at Burton and Company in town as well. The sign man, the cassava man, these are people, the sign man, you hear his name over and over for the businesses of helping people get good, affordable, attractive signs, just the kind of good business. The small businesses are so important for our community. And the cassava man right there in the old market, you get some, I'm not sure what days, but he has some nice cassava wrap, some healthy things. So if you just want to get a traditional cassava, that's nice. When people come out in the area, they're coming from the museum or somewhere in Roseau, you can get this and enjoy some of those local meals. I may give a shout out to some more of our sponsors, but I just wanted to say this is always good to recognize those who do to help make our community better. And thanks so much, those of you who are small business owners and help to keep our society alive and prospering. But beyond that, to give great customer service, because when you give people great customer service and they leave your place of business, you help to create a more peaceful world, because the next person they got to, they just came back from a peaceful environment. So when you treat people good, you do other people good, because you allow the people who just left you to be living in a nice, calm temperament. So if the next person is ugly to them, it might take them a little bit longer to get enraged. So remember, doing good is always good in that context. So Dr. Carr, we get back to you. Yes. So I was asking about, North Park University. I was asking you, tell us a little bit about North Park University, where you fall in the chain of command at the university. And basically as provost, what do you do? And if someone has a choice between your university or somewhere else, why should they come to North Park?
Well, let me start there. I'd rather talk about North Park than me. So let's go with what's easier for me first is talking about North Park. And you mentioned this before is we have what's called our 3 distinctives, which really are 3 pillars of our university, and they're Christian, city-centered, and intercultural in no particular order. They're 3 pillars. And what I feel is what sets North Park apart from other universities is we have all three of those. And let me just run through them really quickly. Is when we talk about city centered, it's not a zip code. We happen to be located in the city of Chicago, but it's not a geographic designation. It's really how we're engaging with the city. Between your work and the Center for Civic Engagement, of students have really indicated that they want to give back to their communities and they want to understand how their education allows them to impact their community. I think especially in this generation, yes, there's jobs, but there's impact of community that's equally important to them. They want to know how I can do both. And so our city centered is providing them opportunities, whether it's learning from the city and engage in experiential learning, is it provides them in parallel to their discipline knowledge to how they can apply it and impact communities. So there's the city centered. We can talk about that more. The Christian I want to talk about as well, and it's about faith formation. We welcome all faiths on our campus. We're rooted in the sacred text of Christianity, but we want all students to come of all faiths, and we welcome them as they develop their faith and spiritual formation. And I think one of the things that's really powerful, a lot of times we think of faith as something that's very personal, that this is my personal journey. While it is, we believe faith is actually providing students with skills that will not only help them in their neighborhood, but also in their job. If you take a look at what employers are looking for, they're looking for people who communicate. They look at people who are empathic. They're looking for people with a service orientation. They're looking for people with emotional resiliency. All of those things are foundational to our faith. And that's what faith builds in us. So it's another aspect of how do you introduce faith in a liberal arts context? Because I know what's really tricky is how do you teach students to deconstruct texts and deconstruct everything in a liberal arts education, apply critical thought, but step into faith. The reason why those two are really important in this age of students is you're trying to introduce them into that critical thought, but at the same time is having them develop their faith. So I'm really proud of our faculty and the experience we have that can hold those two things that may seem in opposition to each other, but we hold them together and we provide those opportunities for our students to grow in both of those. And then last, but certainly most important, is the intercultural. And we're an institution that's designated as a Hispanic serving institution, which is 30% of our students identify as Hispanic, but again, we're a predominantly non-white institution. So we have a lot of different students on our campus coming from all different backgrounds and all different identities, which is such a great strength. And we feel like that is a strength. I know a lot of times people want to point to these differences and diversity as differences. We view it as strength. And how do you bring people together so they can navigate these different cultures? How do they start communicating with one another? How do they start understanding that this is actually a strength and that they shouldn't focus on traditions and customs that may be different than theirs, but really how do you engage with each other? Because it's a core work unit. And we're honoring people and we're honoring where they are to make sure all feel like they belong there and thrive there. And that's the work that we're having. And that's the kind of the work of interculturals. Have we created this space where everybody can look and join our community and say, I belong there and can thrive there. So all three of those together, I feel, is really what sets us apart. You have some that maybe have faith, some maybe in the city, some not. But the strength really of North Park is the incorporation of all three of those, both inside and outside of the classroom. So they're not discrete experiences. They're really embedded in the curriculum in a number of different majors. And that's why I love the university. It's why I think it's a great place. And to dovetail my story a little bit of what I found since I've worked there is, as I mentioned earlier, mission was really important to me. It's really hard to go to a higher ed institution where people will say, I don't really believe in students. I don't believe in mission. Everybody says it. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to live it. And what I found is most places that I went to, there were pockets of people who really felt their work was service and mission based. But it was in pockets distributed throughout the university. I don't think I've ever been in a place where the number of people all throughout the university who believe that their work is about service and their work is about mission and the work is about supporting students and trying to build this community and viewing people not as numbers, but as people. I've never been at a place where the concentration of people has been that high than at North Park. That's the norm versus, oh, wow, that person believes it as well, which was somewhat of my experiences at other universities where you found people who did, but you kind of bumped into them versus the norm of the orientation and the lens of their work is really service and mission and support. And so that's what I found. That's why I love the place. That's why I feel like it's a great learning environment for students and for them to enter in where they are and to be able to develop and grow and to be able to find their place in their community. That's why I think North Park is for them. As far as provost goes, I have to explain this to my kids as well. I'm confident my two daughters still don't know exactly what I do for a living. And so it seems like it's a conversation every other year going, now, what do you do again? So a lot of times.
So Provost Carr, you should probably ask Patrice. Patrice, can I put you on the spot and tell the provost what you think a provost does? Here's a real opportunity.
This is great.
You got me.
Let's go.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I was thinking, oh, the principal. I really don't know.
Okay, Dr. Carr, you can go ahead and educate her then. Go ahead.
So let's go on paper, and then that's how I kind of view the work a little bit. Well, so on paper, again, in higher ed, we have these very strange historical titles that don't really mean anything, and provost would be one of those titles. Essentially, my job is to oversee the learning environment for students. So anything that's influencing the learning environment, whether it's classroom space, whether it's faculty, whether it's the majors you can study, essentially is that's the breadth of my oversight. And so all of those then kind of feed into it. But you can imagine is when a provost is doing his job well, you can imagine that should be central to everything. That should be central to budgeting. That should be central to physical plant. That should be central to what student supports we're providing. And so I view it's really the hub of the university. Is if that's our center, is making sure the learning environment for our students is where it needs to be. Everything then I interface with all the other units on the university. So whether it's the budget, whether it's student engagement, whether it is enrollment, all of those dovetail and feed into essentially the provost office. So having strong working relationships with those is really critical. So that's how I kind of describe it to my daughters. It still doesn't give you so what do you do every day? It still doesn't necessarily get to that. And trust me, I won't share my calendar with anybody at this, but that's the heart of it is what I would say is essentially if I really wanted to distill it down is I want students to have such a seamless experience with their focusing on their learning. And I want faculty to be in an environment where they're focused on their teaching and scholarship. That's my goal. So all those administrative aspects that go into navigating your job or students navigating your transactions of bills and financial aid and registering for courses. My ultimate goal is I want students to focus on learning and that's it. Everything else should be really easy. I want faculty to focus on teaching and scholarship. And one of the things I want to know is when that doesn't happen, because I want to start removing barriers.
Well, Dr. Carr, thank you so much. And Lambi, in about 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to be queuing up our next song that is All Over the World by Michael Henderson. This will be our next song. But meanwhile, I want to remind you that you are listening to the big station, Q95, there in Dominica. We are live in StreamYard, and I am here in Palos Heights, Illinois. Patrice is in Columbia, Missouri. Dr. Carr is in Chicago, Illinois. Lambi is in the beautiful Nature Isle, and Michael Henderson will be down here in the studio with us hopefully in about an hour or so. And we are live on Facebook of Q95 Radio. We are 43 minutes into our show, and if you want to call in at any time, you can call us if you're in United States, Canada, or somewhere where you can call free for using into the US or Canada. You can call us at 305-432-9624. Again, 305-432-9624. If you are in Dominica or somewhere close, or you're anywhere in the world and you want to call on the Dominica switchboard, we have 4 numbers for you: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. And you can use the cell line 616 4257. We're going to break into, while I know Patrice has some questions about the provost. I know you want to ask Dr. Carr if he makes a lot of money. Dr. Carr, do you tell your daughters, no matter what I do, I make a lot of money, so you can get another Tesla? Do you tell them that?
I do not.
So,
I do not.
So Patrice, you may have some questions, and Lambi is going to take us into a little break, and we're going to hear our next song here from the Princess of Song, All Over the World. Lambi, we ready to go? All right, so we're getting there.
Our destiny is calling. A brand new day could be dawning all over the world. All over the world. Our future could be brighter as we let love and peace unite us all over the world. All over the world. Tonight we've learned in this world as it turns what you make of it. And though a peaceful world may seem impossible on the face of it, I know we can do this if we try. You and I, side by side, we can fly higher. Our destiny's calling. A brand new day could be dawning all over the world. All over the world. Our future could be brighter as we let love and peace unite us all over the world. All over the world. And there will come a day when our children will play and hold each other's hand. It'll be a sight to see people living happily in the life we plan. And you know we can do this if we try. You and I, side by side, yeah, we can fly higher. Our destiny's calling. A brand new day could be dawning all over the world. All over the world. Our future could be brighter as we let love and peace unite us all over the world. All over the world. And can you see it? If you hold out your hand, then you can reach it. We just believe it. I know that we can make this dream come true. Me and you. Time will tell. I think we owe it to ourselves to make the best of it. So that tomorrow and beyond we can sing a joyful song and leave a testament. We know we could do it if we try. You and I, side by side. Now we're flying higher. We heard our destiny calling. A brand new day is dawning all over the world. All over the world. Our future is much brighter as we let love and peace unite. All over the world. All over the world. All
Talking about new generation, renewed veneration, yeah, of life and love in all its forms.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you. Thank you again, Mikael, for this beautiful song all over the world. Well, caller, we have our first caller for the night. Caller, you are live here on the big station. Thank you for calling. Caller, are you there? Caller, no. Caller, no. Well, caller, try again. We'll be happy to hear you from all over the world as we just listened. Calling us here to create a better world from wherever we are and however we are. And we are back here again. You can call us on our from our overseas line. You can reach us locally. You can leave a comment on Facebook. Patrice, are there any comments on Facebook yet? Have you pulled up Facebook to see?
There were a few comments, but they were just saying hello. So
that's all right. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Hello is good. Hello is really good. So, Patrice, do you have what questions you have for Provost Carr as a provost? Whether it's about for you to better understand something you or your friends are navigating, or something you heard him say about to oversee the learning environment for students and everything. What type of questions you have for him?
Well, I heard that he said that his job is to be aware of what's happening on campus with students, and what's impacting their academic life. So I do have a question. What have you learned from this industry, and how have you seen it impact younger people?
Good question.
So, I think one of the things and especially, let me put it in the context a little bit of faith, and then let me go higher ed as well, because I think it's a little bit of what I was referring to before is what students are looking for now in terms of experience. And I think one of the things that is really important to students is how do they develop and how do they impact their communities, and what are the settings we're creating to allow them to actually have that happen. I think, let me put that to the side for a second, and let me go personal to the job, and let's go to higher ed and that student experience before we dig into it a little bit. I think what's really critical and important, I think hierarchy used to be pretty big in higher education, where you have this org chart and you have kind of students, and then you had provosts and presidents that were somewhere on campus. I think having a direct line and having a mechanism for students to be able to voice what is their experience and what's important to them. Because one of the things I think what I learned is I don't want to overlay what I think is important for a student experience, because it goes in the wrong direction. Is if I want to know what students are looking for in an experience, I need to engage and talk to them. And I think one of the things that higher ed may not have done a good job is going to solutions without knowing what we're solving for or really what's important to students. And so I think having those strong lines of communication that's open and creating relationships where students feel like they can come and talk. And let me just give you two quick examples. I know even going through our strategic plan, one of the activities I did is went to the student government and just literally asked them, what's your biggest headache? Because I want to prioritize what we work on for a university. What I want to prioritize are some of your biggest headaches. And instead of me jumping in saying, wow, this seems like this would be a big issue for the students, let's go in this strategic direction, is just to engage with them so I could hear from them. What are you looking for in an experience? Because everybody is different. Generations change. We don't live in a static state. The world changes and students change. And I think one of the problems sometimes with higher ed is we have this historical momentum of something that has been done, and we expect students to bend to the university when the world has changed. Students have changed. What have we done to engage to say, yes, that still works? Or maybe we need to do something differently to make sure it is working and creating this space for students so they can concentrate on their learning. So that's one thing I would say a little bit with higher ed. And to that point, I think with faith, what we saw from a climate survey, it was one of the first times we did an institution-wide climate survey last year to hear from students and faculty and staff, but let me focus on students for the moment, is how do they want to develop faith? They said they want to do it through service. And I think a lot of times faith development has been, you do mission trips and you do these because you need to do good works as a Christian. But what we're finding is our students in this generation, that's how they worship. Like, that's how they develop their faith. And we never would have really thought of that. We would have said, yes, we need to, because as Christians or people of faith, you help your neighbor. That's something you do is almost attached to your spirituality, not as a part of worship. And it completely helped changed our mindsets a little bit. Instead of saying to students, here's your time to go do service, we now really need to take a mindset of how are we doing it so students can engage in their faith development, because that's how students on our campus say they want to worship and develop their faith. So I think, Patrice, it's a little bit of that is really, how are we really engaging and where are we listening and how are we listening? One of the things that I'm really proud of is, as well, this happened a year ago, is, you know how you go to conferences and a lot of times it's outside of the formal sessions and you get to know people and you almost develop a better relationship, or you find more value outside of the formal sessions than inside. What I try to do is go to where the students are. And I was at one of their events and I was just talking to students, and it wasn't anything in particular. And about 6 months after I met with a student, I had a student say, I want to come meet with you. And so the appointment went up on my calendar. And as a provost, you're always trying to think of, okay, what's the issue? Because the issue wasn't identified from that the student wanted to talk about. So you're always projecting because you're trying to anticipate, okay, is there a problem? What's the problem? What do I think the problem could be? So I'm trying to line it up so I could be responsive to the student. The student wanted to continue a conversation that we had about what different religious faiths on our campus mean. And the only reason why she was comfortable doing that was because I had a conversation with her outside of these formal settings. And so I think it's that I'm going to try to keep going and keep building a little bit. And it goes back to my original point, is managing by org charts just doesn't work anymore in higher ed. You just can't do it. You can't try to say, okay, president and provost, and then try to have all these layers in between. It just doesn't work. You need to empower people and you need to engage with people if you really want to make it a collaboration, which is really the best of higher ed when it's working well.
So what I've heard you say here is that you've learned that there are traditional ways that administration at schools or universities have found ways to communicate with students, but they're not that helpful or as helpful now because times are changing, as well as students, their connections with faith, their connection with school, and even administrations. That leads to a question. Do you feel like you've obtained success when you do these type of methods, or with your job and your title in general, when you communicate in this way?
It's always better when I do. And let's go back to your dad a little bit, because I like the personal questions about your dad. But so let's bring your dad into it whenever we can. But one of the things, and I told your father this, that what I need around me is people who think differently than I do. I know how I think. And I think where I sometimes fail in this is when I don't hear those different voices, when those different voices, for a variety of reasons, don't feel comfortable, I haven't shared, didn't have the opportunity, whatever it is. That's where I feel like I missed something, because we all have blind spots. And if you're not filling in your blind spots, that's where things go down a path, which again, the intent usually is good in higher ed, I have to say. Is a lot of the times the position of intent is okay, but as we know, intent and impact are not the same. And really having an understanding, and I think a lot of times that where higher ed gets into trouble a little bit is dwell too much on intent and trying to make a position and justification in intent and not really digging into what my impact was. And so I think where I would go a little bit is really making sure we're balanced. Of course, you need to know where your heart lies. You need to know where intent is, but you also need to understand what the impact is. So I would say, again, it's evolving. It's a learning for me in the job as well, because it's been an evolution of me and my career of engaging in the work in this way. But I think what I'm hoping to at least cultivate is that I'm willing and I want people to come forward with these different perspectives. But again, people have to experience it. You can't just tell people, please share with me. Like, they have to feel that they're intellectually safe and they're comfortable and that they can, and that there's a reason why they would want to. because it may lead to something or an advancement of a conversation. So that's what I would say is I'm trying to engage in this, but making sure I'm having those voices being heard.
I definitely understand, and I'm sorry that I keep on asking questions, but I just thought
Go
it was
ahead.
this
Go.
other question
Go
right here
ahead.
and there, and I really do wish that it was more socially normal for people to ask, what do you wish you were able to talk about or do more as the provost, or as the provost at North Park University?
What do I wish I could do more?
Yeah, what do you wish that you could talk more about of what you do as a provost? Yes.
Oh, I think one of the things that always, as far as my job goes, I love my job. My job is it's a lot, and it's pretty intense at times, but I love my job, and I think it's one of the things is to step in these positions, you need to love it because it's pretty demanding. And the reason why I love this job is it's really helped problem solving is really what it is. I was a puzzle kid growing up. I loved puzzles. I loved the physical puzzles. I loved the word puzzles. I loved number. I did math, and again, this is going to make me very exciting. I know. I was always fine with math because I felt like it was another puzzle. I didn't need the practical application because I was like, oh, I'll go sit and do a puzzle. And I guess how that fits with me in this job is I hate to, I don't want to use the word problem solving a little bit because things aren't, I don't want to characterize people and operations as problems, but it's areas where we need to get better. So faculty, and back to the heart of this, why aren't students able to focus on their learning? Why can't faculty focus on their scholarship and their teaching? And so it really is just nothing when you're doing it well. It really is engagement of problem solving, putting puzzle pieces together, finding where resources are, understanding where your resources are, understanding where your talent is, making sure you're elevating and positioning that talent in the right place. So it's something as simple as what's going on in this classroom, all the way up to really what majors do we want to start developing with our students. So it can go from A to Z by day at 8:30 in the morning till 6 at night. It has that range throughout the day. But I think part of the reason why I love it is because there is this service, and I believe in the service aspect of it, that I really want to create these conditions so people can thrive. That's my job. And if I'm doing it well, people can thrive. If I'm not doing it well, people aren't thriving. And I think that's how I view the work a lot. And it's a lot of pieces, but it's good because I like putting puzzles together.
Patrice, I'm glad to see you engage Dr. Carr in this dialogue. I think one of the things I really enjoy about this show is that I get time to spend with my daughter. I get to be a father. I get to spend time with her, but I also get to learn with her. I get to learn from her. And these I think are great gifts. Lambi, the next song we'll be playing is "Home." We just have it queued up by Mikhail Henderson. Actually, Mikhail is also a student, and I don't think I'm saying too much to say that even tonight she has to study for a law exam tonight. So when she shows up, Patricia knows student life is that she won't get to hear much about what a provost does and some of those conversations. But before we switch into the song, and Patrice, at sometime later on, I know you have on your text the numbers for there, so you'll read that out to us a little bit later on. But Provost Carr, before we break into some music, tell us briefly. There are some students who are listening now to us, and some of them have difficulties with finances at the university. And a lot of them do not understand their financial rights. They don't understand how Bursa works.
Sure.
And sometimes when they get a note from Bursa that they have a hold on their account, they get into depression, they get into a hole, they run away from school, they do all kinds of things. Can you explain to students what the purpose of the office of the Bursa is, and should they really be afraid of Bursa's office as they are, and what type of leeway do they have for Bursa to be able to work with them to be able to stay at school?
Well, let's go in general, but then let's talk about North Park a little bit.
Sure.
I really encourage all students to engage, is because as I said, is most higher ed institutions are centered as they really want to help. And so to engage, what are your options and what are some steps that one could take as it relates to their bill? And I know the pressure of finances are real, and I know the stress that finances have, and especially as it relates to the goals and dreams that students have. You combine those together, and I think it carries additional weight to it. With North Park in particular, we strongly encourage students to really engage, because it really is a conversation about, let us help you come up with a plan that doesn't mean taking away your balance tomorrow. It really is not, it's not like a bill collector that you may have from others. It really is, they're trained and they're in a position of service versus collecting money. And I think that's a really big difference with understanding what is the bursar office at North Park University versus what's an outstanding bill I may get from an outside private industry, whether it's a car bill or it's an electric bill. It's a very different conversation. The conversation is not entry, pay your bill today. It's how can we help? What's your situation? And what can we do to try to put a plan into place? And so it's a very different experience. So thank you for asking that. I really encourage them to engage, because that's the point of the bursar's office, is to come together to try to come up with a plan for the students to certainly succeed in whatever dreams they're looking for.
Awesome. Patrice, tell our listeners the numbers, and then Lambi, we're going to go to home.
All right. If you would like to call in and ask questions about what we're speaking about now, or even something that you would like to hear about, give critiques about the show, etc. If you're in Canada or if you are in the United States, you can call 305-432-9624, 305-432-9624. And if you are in Dominica, there are a few numbers here that you can call, so bear with me. You can call 449-3095, 449-3095, or 449-3096, 449-3096, and last one, 449-3097, 449-3097.
Yes, and if you also are in Dominica, and if you want to use a cell number, 616-4257, 616-4257. Let's listen to home, and then we're going to come back and have some more conversation with Dr. Michael Escar. I don't know if he's going to tell us what the S is when we come back. We're going to listen to him, and maybe by then our Princess of Song might join us. Home from Mikel Henderson, right here.
I'm the child of a warrior, daughter of a slave, product of the blood that my ancestors gave. I am flesh, Kalinaka, when the pig were light. I am proud Mandingo in the dark of night. Yeah. I am white Chocoboli, native to the core, and dark with the free spirit of Negro. Favored with the highest freedom and birth, I go to the land of my birth, and I sing home. From east with the rising sun to west when the day is done. This land is my home. Oh, I sing home from the mountains that gave her name. The peaceful and free. This land is my home. My home, my home, my home, my home, my home, my home, my home. I am friend to the earth and sister to the sun, the water and the river, and I am one. I rise with the wind and fall with the rain. When my motherland cries, oh, I feel the pain. I feel the pain. I am blue as the hue of your deepest sea. I am red as the blood spill to set me free. I am green as the grass in the valley below, and like the warmth of the sun, I'm yellow. And I sing home to this jewel that I praise in song, this gem to which I belong. This land is my home. Oh, I sing home from the mountains that hills from whence this land is my home. I sing home from east with the rising sun to west when the day is done. This land is my home. I sing home from the mountains that gave honey, the hills from the rain. This land is my home. My home, my home, my home, my home, my home, my home. I'm a child of the warrior, daughter of the slave.
Home Here by Mikel Henderson. I like the vibes, you feel the groove. Provost Scott, do you like to dance?
I do. I like to dance. We're gonna reserve judgment of do I dance well.
No, I wasn't gonna ask that. I could. You look like a good dancer. I was gonna just skip it there. But Patrice, do you like to dance?
It's a little TikTok dance. It's a little 1, 2, 3.
Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Hey.
Yes, folks, it's the 7th day of October of 2024. You're right here on the big station, Q95 Radio. And you can listen to us here on Facebook. Patrice has given you the numbers that you can call. We are here in studio. I am here in Palos Heights, Illinois. Patrice is in Columbia, Missouri. Lamby is in the Nature Isle, where Mikel Henderson will join us pretty soon. And Provost Carr is in the city of Chicago. We are here discussing matters about what is a provost. We're discussing about higher education, about North Park University, where we both work. Actually, I have a daughter. Provost Carr is in biology. I had a daughter who actually, Patrice is in Columbia studying journalism and sociology with a minor in Black Studies. Did I get it right, Patrice? I get it right.
Yep, everything was right.
This time I finally got it right. and actually, my daughter Paloma KB Seja, Brianna, better known as Brianna, went to North Park University. And let me see if I got it right. She is a double major in molecular biology and biotechnology.
It's great. It's really good.
I got it right. I studied for that. Yeah, right. And then we are here with Provost Carr. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at North Park University, where our main purpose is to create a culture of Peaceology, a culture of low stress and high joy, so faculty members, students, and staff members and our collaborators can live to their maximum potentials. I have a job description that says the work that I'm supposed to do as a dean. My style of management is that as a leader, I can lead from the back, I can lead from the side, I can lead from the front, I can lead from anywhere. But my job is to be able to be a servant to those who find example through the work, the way that I present my work, the way that I conduct myself, and the way that I produce, and the way that I keep my actions close to my words, and the way that I do not just say, and the way that I also do. I have to be aware that sometimes I do too much. So sometimes I try to tell people, I compare myself to myself. So, compare yourself to yourself, and you don't have to send emails at 3 a.m. and 1 a.m. like I do. I just assume that you may be in a different time zone or something like that. Or maybe because I slept early in the night and this is my time that I produce, and I like to produce in certain times, So we are here with Provost Michael Carr. where we're talking about higher education. We're talking about university. We're talking about what the provost does. We're talking about what a dean does. So, Patrice, what are some of the things that you see as a young lady in a university that is much bigger than where you are, University of Missouri in Columbia? It's like a whole village, right? What are some of the things that you see among your sophomore now that you believe students on your campus, students in general, could benefit from some of what Dr. Provost Carr just shared with us tonight?
They can benefit from having someone on the administrative side who is willing to listen. And sometimes listen doesn't need to have an action afterwards. It can simply just be listening. What is this student going through? And sometimes there may not be something that the administration can do at the moment, but just have that in the back burner. Okay, well, I know there are a series of students, or there are a series of time situations where a group of students have gone through this. Making sure, and you've said that you've gone to the organizations such as the student government, but making sure that they have enough resources, because many of the times it is the students who are able to fix their own problems, but they just may need a little bit of support, whether it's financial, whether it's advice, because, most of the time administration, they are adults, but sometimes they are grad students. It really just depends on where you go. But I think those are really the ways that could help students the most. And I've mentioned you say really both of them. So really it's now making sure that your staff, they have that ingrained in their heads, that is how many students are able to comprehend help. Because there are other ways that you may be able to help students, but they may not comprehend it as helping. And always be willing to express your intentions, because intentions, like you said, may not always come out the way that you plan it to.
Right. Well, thank you for saying it. And can I share a quick story about what I learned? Because it's still a learning process.
Provost Carr, I very seldom interrupt you.
No, please.
But I feel like I want to tell everybody to stand, because the Princess of Song is in the house. Hi, Mika. How are you? Yes, well, it's working on your mic. You're going to say that again. Tell us.
Oh, I just said, hi, I'm well. Thank you very much. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Our Provost Carr will not forget this question, but I heard you were in Chicago. Were we really blessed to have you on our soil?
I was in Chicago just yesterday. I actually drove all the way up to Michigan and back to Chicago, and then jumped on a flight and came home.
So, I didn't know where you were. I know. I'm just kidding. Well, next time.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. So we are talking at the mic to Provost Carr. He's going to answer a question, and then Patrice is going to have some questions for you. You're going to have to tell her. Patrice will tell her.
I'll ask you some questions. I saw that you sang with Joss Stone. I love Joss Stone with my whole heart. So I am excited for this. But yes, we're going to go back to the provost.
Yes, sorry, Provost. I apologize.
No, please, absolutely. Let's transition to you as quickly as possible. We all agree.
I want to hear the answer to the question.
I do think the question, what we asked, is important, but there is something that's in the chat that I think we should ask this one, and then we can move on. Is this okay?
Yes.
Sure. Whatever you want.
So the question is, what are the support benefits, or what ways of support and benefits are there for international students to go to North Park University?
Yeah, we have a lot of supports for our international student. We have an international office that handles visa requirements, that handles paperwork. We have an international office that does orientation for students as well, that provides what to expect before you arrive on campus. And then there's an orientation before classes start about helping that transition and introduction to North Park. So we have an international office devoted with the guidance and help for international students. So we'd love for you to contact them, and they'd be more than happy to start walking you through what your situation is and provide some solution and guidance for you.
And I'll say, whatever your major is, or your intention is, connect with your dean and have a conversation, because on the dean levels, there might be other information as well that may benefit you. And for me, as the Dean of College of Arts and Sciences, I love talking to everybody. But for me, having been an international student and having been able to navigate through various places, having gone to school in Dominica, in the United States, in Canada, in Japan, I would very much like to be a resource. And because so many of my students are from Norway, somewhere in Scandinavia, somewhere from Africa, somewhere from in Europe, all over the different continents. So I would love to be able to use whatever knowledge I have as a person a student. When I was a student, and I'm still an international person, and as someone that may have some resources beyond what the office has. So I'd be very happy to communicate with any international student, any student for that matter of fact, but certainly ones with international profile. And I heard, Mikel, I heard you're a student too, se fuera?
Yes, I am a student. Absolutely, I am a student. I'm one of these people who believe in lifelong learning, and I think I shall be a student for as long as I live. There's always something new to learn, and I always believe in broadening one's horizons, taking on new projects. So for me, education is very, very key, very important. I wish I had learned that when I was much younger. I would have spent more time studying, but I was playing music, and having fun. But yeah, this is key. And information like what you're providing is very, very important, because a lot of students have a little bit of trepidation about leaving home and not being, surrounded by people they know and their parents, their loved ones. And so it's kind of refreshing and reassuring, rather, to hear that, there's entire departments dedicated to the concerns of the international students. So kudos.
So Mikel, one of my daughters, not this one, the other one, Paloma or Brianna, told me, Daddy, you will never guess who was my classmate. And I say, I'll never guess, so I'm not going to guess. Who is it? Mikel Henderson. She told me you were...
in college.
I don't know if you remember her, Brianna Paloma St. Jean. She was studying biology or chemistry at Dominica State College.
Did some classes
you did a class together.
Because I did, yes.
She said
yes.
And she said you were like such a good student.
I've been told.
All right,
we told a middle student, but yeah.
So Patricia, I know you have some questions on the front burner.
Yes, I do have some questions. I watched your performance, or more like, first, I would like you to introduce yourself. What type of introduction do you want the guests to hear, or more like the audience here? And then we'll get into the questions, because I'm very excited.
Oh, wonderful. So my name is Mikel Henderson. I'm from the lovely village of Grand Bay, also known as the cultural capital of Dominica. I am a singer-songwriter, a farmer, author, president of the Association of Music Professionals, a former director of the Eastern Caribbean copyright organization. And I'm a law student currently. Musician, performer, band leader, businesswoman, many things. So I'm also a Goodwill Ambassador for Dominica. I forgot that part. A Goodwill Ambassador for Dominica. I'm also the author-composer of the CARICOM Anthem, which is the official anthem of the Caribbean community. So, I think that kind of sums up.
Well, what does it feel like to be the one to compose an anthem?
That is quite an honor, because, as a little girl, like I think I always dreamed of doing something that would stand up to the times, that would be recorded in history. And I felt like that was my moment to stamp my mark on Caribbean history. And so I did. I wrote this song with every ounce of passion that I had. I really wanted to capture the spirit of Caribbean people. And so I put pen to paper in as poetic a way as I could, and gave it as much of a Caribbean theme. So it's not the usual anthem, that's all stoic and very stately. It's very reflective of Caribbean people, our life and our rhythmic patterns. And so I'm very proud that it was chosen as the anthem among some 60-something entries, actually. And that one got chosen. And I have the honor of it being played at every heads of government meeting, being sung by school kids in schools all over the Caribbean. The government bands all over the Caribbean play it. So it's quite an honor, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, what all else goes into your process of making music? I realized that you said something about your own personal experiences, also observing culture, but what else goes into it?
I usually, especially for a project like that, in particular with that song, I like to find out what is needed and wanted around me. I really do like to read the room, let's say, and feel the pulse of what's happening, and then in my own way, sort of channel that information into poetry. And so I write a poem, and then I add melody to it, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I realized my dad was going to say something.
Oh no, Mika, I was gonna say I heard you are a great parent and a
Oh,
wonderful
wow.
partner as well.
Where did you
That
hear that from?
people talk, the paparazzi,
Ah,
paparazzi.
that's so cool. That's lovely. Well, I hope my kids think that way. I hope they do think that I'm a great parent. But yeah, they do tell me that. I love my children to through the moon. I think they're my greatest achievement ever, actually.
Yeah, and I could tell how the young lady who was singing with you was trying to let you tell her if the song was about whomever she thought was in your life. That was, I like the way you handle that too. I like that.
Just yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a sweet, she's a very sweet girl too, actually. Wonderful artist in her own right. Yeah.
Yes, Patricia, I can tell you have more questions from your face.
Yes. And I'm glad you were referencing to and I'm still learning Creole, so I'm going to try to pronounce your song in Creole because I know it's for all of my life in English, but I would like to practice my Creole here. Toute la vie moine.
Pour toute la vie. Yes.
La vie.
Yes, pour toute la
Okay.
vie.
So what gave you not gave you, but what confidence, or how did you approach the confidence to start performing your music, especially with, let's say, other artists who are also well known in other countries?
When yes, that's an important question because when I was very young, I was very shy about singing my own music. You write a song, it's almost like a baby, and you get really emotionally attached to it, and you don't always, well, that's the experience I had. I wasn't always sure that people would like it as much as I did because it was all the songs I wrote were very personal. So I was very reticent about actually releasing songs. So I have tons of songs that haven't been released yet. But eventually I started realizing that, I'm human like everybody else, and everyone, we share these emotions. It's not something that is unique to me and my life experience. It's that, although we do have certain nuances, in our experiences, but generally human beings experience the same thing. We experience love, and we experience sadness, and we experience grief, and we experience happiness. And so it was okay for me to tell those stories in my own way, and just put it out there. And then I found out that people actually liked it, that it wasn't as personal as I thought it would. Like, it'd be too personal to actually, for people to be actually relating to it. But it was quite relatable, I found out. And so I became more and more confident. My husband has been by my side since, oh my gosh, we've been married for 26 years, I think, this year. So we've been together for a long time, 27, 28 years. So I've always had his support, and he's always liked everything I write. It's always good. He doesn't, it's always good for him. So having that encouragement helps a lot. So it builds my confidence. It allows me to express myself even more freely. So that's, I guess, having a good support system around me is what gives me that confidence.
That's great. Did you have any questions?
The Dr. Carl, what's your impression? You asking Mikkel? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was asking you, but also Dr. Carr can answer.
Maybe Dr. Carl has a question.
Well, it's more of a comment to a question, dovetailing with what you said. I'm always impressed with the vulnerability of artists. I'm always humbled when people have skills that I don't have, first of all. But then the second skill that goes into this is to be that vulnerable, to share, to put your work out there, because that's the place of creativity, is your personal, and it's a very personal then to be able to put out. So I always appreciate and just think it was beautiful. Heard some of your music, but thank you for taking those steps that are out there, and just know I appreciate every step and every piece that you you create is another step into vulnerability and strength and sharing your gifts and who you are. So I want to just say that I'm just amazed every time I see artists and putting their work out there. I just go, that's a skill
Thank you.
that's just unbelievable and impressive. So
It is. It takes some courage. It really
it
does.
does. It really does.
Yeah. I just I have the tiger, man.
So it seems like we have a caller. Thank you for calling Q95, the big station. Go ahead. Let's hear you. The caller is gone. Well, while the caller gets warmed up again. So, Mikhail, I don't know if you remember this moment, but we were together in Grand Bay, and I want to get that footage, try to get that footage for you, because I know I have some footage of you performing with Rasmo. You guys were down close to in Mabouche area there.
Wow.
Or
I don't
some,
think I
and
remember that. Wow.
right, or close to Holiday Place, somewhere around there,
Oh, okay.
somewhere
Yes,
around
yes,
there.
yes, probably,
And they had a stage right up from the road across there. And you were so patient. We were there for hours and hours, and I thought you were like opening up the show. And you were like 3 hours in, and you like stayed there the whole time and watched Rasmus and the drummers play. And then after you came to do your thing, and I was so impressed. I mean, you could have. I know you were at home, but you didn't have to be there. But you were there enjoying every performance, and being so kind to people and helping out as you can. So that's one of the things I really remember about you. And every time I hear your music, I really appreciate how you were so natural and patient. And I just want to thank you, because I showed you so a lot of love to Rasmo. He's my cousin. And the way that you joined with them. So continue to be that great person that you are.
Well, thank you very much. I had no idea you were paying attention. But thank you. That's really kind. Thank you.
That's how life is. Lambi, the person, the caller is still there. The person's not there.
No, I don't think. Probably gone. But
yes.
caller, you can call back.
So one of the things I like to do is to play a song with the person in the studio, and Lambi, the song Code Red, because I suspect there's a code in there, right? So I want us to hear some of the Code Red, and then I want you to tell us what we heard, or maybe the others can tell us what they think they heard, and you can tell us what we think we heard. Massa, Makedio, Makejemedio. So Lambi, play Code Red, and we're gonna listen to some of it. I don't know if we'll get to the whole one. That's all right. That's all right. It's about on the list. It's number. It's not far down the list. I'll tell you there, but we will find it. It's number 6 on your list there that I provided to you. So when you get it, we'll cue it up. And I like to listen to songs that have a little puzzle to them, have a little curiosity to them, and I suspect that is there. But I love the singing. I like the theatrics. And as he's looking for that, Mikhail, what was it like to have that peacock sing in your song at Papia?
It was so funny because it was quiet while we were there. I mean, setting up, peacock said nothing. And then as soon as we started singing, then it joined in. Like for some reason, I think the music spoke to the bird. And yes, that's all I can say.
And it only did it once, right? And that was it.
Yeah, right? I mean, yeah, it chimed in, a few times, but not exactly when we wanted it to. When it was prompted, it didn't. But when it was totally free, it went ahead. And I don't think you have that one.
And if you can't find it, should be there. If not, if the code is not saying it, you can play Help Me, or you can play Puyo Danse. One of those it can equally go good, but I think Code Red is there on the list. But any one of them equally so, it will have the story.
If you wanted to know what Code Red was about, I was very young when I wrote that song. I was a teenager, I think, and the song really just spoke about just me looking at the television screen and wondering what kind of world I was like growing into. Like what would my adulthood be like? Because it was pretty much bad news almost everywhere. And it felt like we were, at least to me in my little teenage mind, that we were at some tipping point, in the world and in world affairs. And I felt like I had to put pen to paper. I had to write it down. Like I get when I get all these emotions in my head, I can't keep them. So
Mm.
that's what I do. I write. So if I'm ever in a deep period of grief, or I'm pensive about something, I just sit down and I just write. And so
Mhm.
that helps me to process what's happening. And so that's how that song came about. And I wrote
Mm.
it and thought nothing of it until um my husband suggested that we do a solo album, and I was like, oh well, I have this song. We could put
Nice.
this one on there, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, yes, I started writing stuff when I was deep, when I was a teenager, man. I was concerned about world affairs. I was concerned about starvation in countries in a world that's full of so many resources, I was concerned about those kinds of things. So
So let's take a call, and Mikhail, next you can tell us about Help Me. All right.
mhm,
No, no. So tell us so tell us about Help Me while we probably get Help
yeah.
Me or Code Red up. What was the
All right.
inspiration of Help Me? Yeah.
Help Me was written by Eddie Angol when we were
Mm.
doing the Mizikanu project. This was a project that was designed to commemorate the World Korean Music Festival. And so a group of
Mhm.
musicians came together: Cornel
Mm.
Phillip and Eddie Angol, Martin Dale Olive, myself, Elijah Benoit, um, and and others, Pelham John Baptist, not forgetting.
Mm.
Um, and this was one of Eddie's original compositions. I sang it. Well, Cornell sang it first, and then I sang it after that.
Mm.
But yeah, it was one of his compositions, and also it's one of those songs that talks about what's happening around us. Uh, just observations of how life was going, and how people needed help, and there wasn't a lot of help
Mm.
forthcoming. It just speaks to sort of like a decline, unfortunately, in society, especially in the Caribbean context, where we helped a lot. Kudme was something we did, as
Mhm.
part of our culture. We helped
Mm.
people, and so there's sort of a diminishing culture of help.
Mm.
That's what brought about this particular song.
Wow, you're deep, man. Like, so Provost Scott, this is what I'm talking about when we talk about liberal arts and College of Arts and Sciences, and we talk about the arts, and we talk about that's why, Mikhail, you're sitting here with a provost, because part of what we try to
I'm
do with
honored.
this, what part of what we try to do in this show is to
Mhm.
link different kinds of people together and to show about the value of the art and the music. That's why we feature one artist on every show, and we give that artist the spotlight, because we know at one in Peaceology, we talk about the science and practice of low stress and high joy. The
Mhm.
humanities really help us with low stress and high joy.
Absolutely wonderful. I mean,
Mm.
you've just opened up my universe here,
There we
because
go.
for me,
I'm glad.
especially, I mean, I love all arts.
Mhm.
My daughter is actually a musical theater major.
Mm.
She loves dance and film and all of those things. But music for me is medicine. Music is
Mm.
synonymous with medicine, and so I haven't come across a situation in life that I haven't yet found a song that just has the right message that will lift me out of any gloom or any situation that I'm in. And so for me, music has that power to change lives. And every time I step on the stage, I always know that that was my mission. This is the mission that God put me on earth to do, is to change lives through music. And so I'm very responsible with the lyrical content of my work, because I feel like I have a responsibility to uplift the society. That's my job. Um, everybody else has other jobs, and the world has enough randomity as it is, with wars and hurricanes and all of that happening. So your job as the artist is to provide that light, to provide that aesthetic that is lacking in other things, in other aspects of life. And so human beings can gravitate towards that, and understand that life is still beautiful. There are beautiful and wholesome and uplifting things that exist in the life that makes it worth living. And so music and art and film and theater and dance do those things, you know?
That's really
Yeah.
captivating, and part of what I'm hoping is for us to be able to institutionalize that kind of experience, not just for somebody getting a piecemeal, for it to
Right.
have some experience. So, Lambi, I suppose you have a song for us. We're going to take whichever one you give us. Anything you
Yeah.
give us,
You
that's
can play that
Mikhail.
one. That one right there. The one you have on the screen, yes. We just play that one.
Yeah, yes,
Oh
yes.
no, he
So,
found it. This is Help Me. Yeah.
From dusk to dawn, the cries echo in our world, where misery, sorrow, and pain are permanent thorns in the flesh of many.
Oh my God.
Do you see the things that I see, and hear the things that I hear? Aren't you hurt by the anguish and pain, the sorrow and tears? There are those who are sick and need help from their internal fears. There are those who are weak and need strength for the things they must bear. These are some of the trials that people around us go through. They've got cries that hurt when you hear them ask Lord what to do. Hear the cry. Won't you help them please?
Oh God.
Lend a hand. Won't you please lend a hand? Can you understand their cry? Do you see the thought brings me and hear groans that I hear? Don't you help for the helpless out there? Aren't you touched by those in despair? There are those who are hungry and some who have nothing to wear. There are those with no loved ones and so they're just roaming out there. Think of those horrid hardships we hear of and see day by day. Just imagine them crying for someone to show them the way. Hear them cry. Help them please. So many needs. Won't you please lend a hand? Let's not forget that somewhere out there there's someone who's blessed us somehow and expect us to help in return. And so let's reach out and show some love today. Let us be nice and let us be kind. The same ones causing conflict and dying each day. A misery that haunts them and many times brings their dismay. These are some of the trials that people around us go through. They've got cries that do hurt when you hear them ask Lord what to do. Would you lend a hand? Can you understand? Their entire need.
Help them, please.
Won't you help them, please? Don't you know that there are
You can go for it, Mikhail. You can go for it.
I'm itching to do a live performance.
You should. We have a caller after the caller. Caller, you're on the air. Thank you so much for calling.
Oh, we lost them again.
So I guess you want to give us a cappella. So sing us something the world hasn't heard yet. You have something to release?
Well, I saw this all over the world that you just pulled up. That song I wrote, it hasn't really been published per se. But it's a song that I wrote in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. And I think that one is one of my, I don't know if I want to say favorite because the other songs might get jealous.
Like Christine, the movie,
Yes.
Christine, yeah.
You just had it on the YouTube there. I sat down and I thought, okay, let me write something.
We played that one first. That was one of the songs we played.
All over the world. You actually played it, right? Okay.
That was the second song we played, yeah.
Something that made me reflect on, okay, I've spent a lot of time writing songs about what's wrong with the world. Now I wanted to write a song that sort of inspires us to do better, that it's our destiny to actually fix the planet, to actually do what it takes to make it go right. You know what I mean? To succeed at achieving the ideals that man is striving for every single day. So that's where that song came from. And I felt like the United Nations is one of those organizations that sort of united the world around a common goal of uplifting mankind. Maybe it hasn't quite achieved that, but I think I considered it a good ally in that process. And so I thought this song would be fitting. So I did do it for that. And then I actually got the chance to perform it at an event that we did in Barbados to commemorate the 75th anniversary. So that one I like and I'm proud of. Very.
Thanks for explaining. That was our second song after we played the one up in Papua. Patrice, from your look on your face, it looks like you have a question.
Yes, I was wondering, what does it feel like to be called Princess of the Song or Princess of something?
I've been called Princess for so many years.
You just added off song to it, huh?
Yeah. Princess of Song. It's it's a wonderful accolade. I'm glad that people think that I'm forever young, because the word princess sort of connotes that youthful, joie de vivre kind of idea.
But it connects you to someone. It connects you to someone else as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So there is a queen. There is a. The reason I'm a princess is because there's a queen. So she's indeed a queen, and I took all of my cues from her. Growing up, I learned a lot. I had the benefit of being of traveling with her to some of her on tour with her, as well as she actually chaperoned me to an event that I went to as a young performer in Martinique, and that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. So I hold her in very high esteem, and as long as she's with us, she will be the queen, and I will settle for princess. Yes.
So tell the world her name.
Her name is Miss Ophelia Olivache Marie.
And Patrice, you might remember the room downstairs where Sergio lived in our house in Buffalo. It's called the Ophelia Room because Ophelia Olivache Marie was our first guest in our house in Buffalo. In that
royalty.
room. So the room is named after her. I guess she was on her way to Canada and she stopped and spent a night or two. We were night up a night. So we lived the room after her. Yes. Well, time flies when you're having fun, isn't it? And we don't like to be tardy. There's 5 minutes yet on the table. Mikel, I don't know if you have, and what is going on these days? I mean, you were practicing anything you want to tell the world about what the Princess song is about?
Rehearsal, yeah. I mean, as a musician, you have to keep rehearsing, right? If you don't, you sort of lose your chops. So, my life is just pretty busy with all the other aspects, not just music, but me being a student, being a mother. I just paid a visit to my daughter who's at school in Michigan, at Interlochen Center for the Arts, and long drive. My God, the things parents do. But so I keep myself very active with the many different activities. So I have lots of animals at home, so I love taking care of them as well.
And my music, I'm hoping to come up with some new music soon, so that the audience can actually enjoy some more of my creativity. I can't give you a date as to exactly when that would happen, but it's certainly in my pipeline. And my studies have taken up a huge chunk of my time, and band rehearsal and everything else. So yeah, just recently I did a full workshop on the fundamentals of the music business. It's just a few days ago. So I've also, taken up the mantle of sharing, like you, the information that I do know about my craft and the administrative side of it, so that artists coming up can actually avoid the pitfalls that I went through, and avoid other pitfalls that they would customarily, get into without that data, without the information. So it was an honor for me to be able to share that. And I look forward to doing it again for those who missed it. We did that in collaboration with the UE, University of the West Indies. But yeah, that's also something I love doing. I love passing on knowledge and my life experience to others, so that they can learn from it the same way it was done for me by artists who came before me.
Well, thank you so much for being able to join us. And tell your daughter she has an uncle and an aunt in Chicago. And when you come by, make sure you come and see us, because your husband, the next time you guys visit, because your husband is my good partner, So
Right.
tell her she has family in Chicago, so come see us, come visit North Park, come. Provost Carr said that dinner is on him from his wallet,
Nice.
Absolutely. Be happy to.
Come on out. Patrice, why
Next
don't you
time I
take us
come,
away?
yeah, for sure. Right, next time I come to Chicago, for
For
sure.
sure, you let us know. Patrice, why don't you take us home?
I just want to say thank you, everyone, for listening to our show. It's been an amazing time. I know I had to step out and I came back, but I've learned so much from the provost as well as Mikhail. And I just want to thank you all. Is there anything, last words you want to say, anyone?
Provost Carr?
I want to thank you guys too.
Sure.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here. I'm glad I made it. But I look forward to hearing some more from you, Peter, and your projects.
Thank you.
Well, and again, thank you. I appreciate the time, and please keep making your art and showing us what it means to humanity in a technology world. We need it, without a doubt. So thank you, everybody.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
And tell Junior I said great job with organizing this for us. I know he had to go through a lot, so tell him,
trust me.
Tell him we're so grateful for him.
I was handle it. I'm busy. I'm running up and down. He kind of organized everything, and my ducks lined up in a row so I could be here.
And we owe each other a visit. So next time I come visit you guys, okay?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Take good care. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night,
thank you for tuning in. Lambi, thank you. Thanks to
Bye.
everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
They took from us that freedom and they took us from our homes. We will land across the sea. We work for all they know. If I don't time, we won't give them for thanks to God all night. Now it's one thing that I know that I am sure to survive. But all they took from me, the road I know for me, my name. There is one thing here inside me here. One thing's the wrong way. I want to let them go. I want them to know. I know, so I want them to know too. They can do everything they want from me, but just one thing they don't have you see. My pride, let me have my pride. If they just show me my childhood, rock my family to change. But it cries within my heart, I know one day I'll rise again. Why they look that you will give them and believe that I will. But that will change the situation for me.